14th of April 2019, Bring Back Our Girls statement, being the 5th year commemoration of the abduction of the Chibok Girls, the shame of a nation. Today marks 5 years since the abduction of 276 Chibok girls from the government girls secondary school, Chibok, Nigeria. Nothing prepared our movement for the shameful reality that 112 of our Chibok girls would have their freedom, dignity, and dreams taken away for 5 agonizing years because their government has failed to do everything necessary to give them justice of rescue. None of us who are not biological parents of the 112 remaining Chibok girls can accurately imagine what their parents and families must feel on a day like this. We, however, know that the one thing they have uniformly expressed is their deepest level of disappointment at the way the tragedy in the abduction of their daughters and the grief of parents have been badly managed by 2 successive governments. For these parents, they feel that our country let down their daughters by failing to uphold their rights to freedom and life. For these parents, the worst is that the current administration, which while in opposition, promised to dignify them and their daughters by taking speedy actions of rescue and keeping them abreast of developments, has not done so. This is indeed the shame of a nation. The shame of leadership that has failed the citizens who have every right to the constitutional duties of government to guarantee their safety and security. Today, 5 years after, the President Muhammad Buhari administration has persisted to deny Chibok girls and their parents the speedy action of rescue promised. Even worse, it has denied providing updates on the status of the federal government's efforts, if any at all, to rescue them. It is condemnable that the same president who made the abduction of the Chibok girls the epicenter of his campaign in the 2015 presidential elections, no longer remembers that 112 Chibok girls are still languishing in the den of the terrorists despite his many pledges to rescue them. The world, which cried out in unison for justice on behalf of Chibok girls, are not at all fooled by any statements that President Buhari may make today. They can see that the parents of the remaining Chibok girls have wickedly been forgotten and abandoned to their fate, and left to grieve the loss of their children without any form of closure being declared by the federal government of Nigeria. No serious government handles a matter like the still missing 113 schoolgirls of Chibok and Dapchi with the levity of an unending saga. The same manner of gross neglect and abandonment has also been extended to the parents of Leah Sharibu. We question the government's silence on Leah Sharibu. We question the government's silence on Alice Ngada of UNICEF. We were tempted to not direct any further statements to the president and his government on this 5th year since the abduction of the Chibok girls. However, we contemplated allowing our silence make the loudest statements, considering that a word count would reveal that our movement has already made statements with words in excess of 1 million in our efforts to the government of President Muhammad Buhari to give the justice due to the remaining 112 Chibok girls to them and their families. Our voice shall continue to make the same demands, no matter how impervious to its duty to our Chibok girls, the president and his administration may act. Since our first march on the streets of Abuja, Lagos, New York, Washington, D.C., London, and other cities around the world from April 30th, 2014, we have never ceased to advocate for our Chibok girls and others in abduction. What have we not said or done in the past to get the president and his government to treat the victims of the Chibok and Dapchi tragedies with the humanness and dignity that serious nations accord our citizens? Our movement has written, spoken, held meetings at local and global levels, and marched to mount pressure on the Nigerian government, leading countries, and the United Nations to give justice to the Chibok girls and other abducted persons like Leah Sharibu. Our movement has already done everything within the power of a citizens group to keep the government alert of its primary responsibilities of securing the lives of Nigerian citizens since 2014. Our persistent advocacy was to forewarn government of the consequences of sending the wrong signals to on the value of that Nigeria places on the lives of its citizens. I'll take that again. Our persistent advocacy was to forewarn government of the consequences of sending the wrong signals on the value Nigeria places on the lives of its citizens. Unfortunately, the federal government chose to rather behave in ways that further emboldened those who abduct, kill, and maim our citizens and destabilize our country. It does not surprise observants, followers of the destabilization of most of the northern states of Nigeria, that the inept and lackadaisical handling of the Chibok Girls saga laid the ground for terrorists and their groups to capitalize the failures of governance. Today, abductions and kidnappings are rife. Gruesome killings take place on repeat basis across the country, and internally displaced persons are unable to rebuild their lives. That Nigeria has, since it failed our Chibok girls in 2014, degenerated to become a poster country for terrorist mayhem is the grandest shame of a nation. The degenerate state of security in our country today can be surmised to be the result of the failure of government to embrace the fundamental values of shared humanity, dignity of life of Nigerians, and the erosion of the social contract with citizens. In our role as active citizens that have taken a firm stand for humanity and against injustice, we have in the 5 years not merely advocated, but also produced diverse tools to tackle the insurgency problems. Over the 5 years of our advocacy for Chibok girls and other abducted citizens, we produced a crowdsourced citizen solution to end terrorism, initiated the National Missing Persons Register, and designated a rescued persons authentication tool, the Verification, Authentication, and Reunification System, VARS. For a self-funded movement, we have done everything feasible to keep our promise that we shall never stop demanding justice for the Chibok girls, Leah Sharibu, Alice, and other abducted citizens of Nigeria until they are all brought back. The federal government blatantly refused to publish or act on reports of the June 2014 General M. Sabo Presidential Committee on Abduction of Chibok Girls. I'll take that again. The federal government has blatantly refused to publish the findings of the General M. Sabo-led committee in 2014 on the abduction of the Chibok girls. What is the President Muhammadu Buhari administration hiding? Why has this report not been published? What also happened to the committee announced on the 14th of January 2016 by President Muhammadu Buhari to again look into the abduction of the Chibok girls? Has the committee ever met? What were its findings? This administration must know that Nigerian citizens view this evident unwillingness to publish these reports as indicative of an attempt to cover up the truth on the Chibok Girls saga and the failures to give them justice. Today, our core demand remains the same, relevant today as it has been on each day in the 1,811 days since we came out as a movement. We have daily turned up at the Unity Fountain, pressuring 2 consecutive governments and the presidents that lead them to rescue the remaining 112 Chibok girls, Leah Sharibu, Alice Ngada, and others in captivity. For as long as they remain in captivity, we, the Bring Back Our Girls movement, shall continue to carry them in our hearts and make our voices resound and re-echo our cries of 5 years. Mr. President, bring back our girls now and alive. Mr. President, this is a shameful legacy. No more excuses. Bring back our girls now and alive. Signed for and on behalf of the Bring Back Our Girls movement, Florence Ozo, Gapani Yanga, and Nifemi Onifade. Thank you very much.